If you were here back in June for our 25th anniversary celebration, you'll remember that the plants in our anniversary garden were just starting to fill in. Well, now that it's the end of August, the plants have really matured and you can easily make out the 25 here in the center. Well, today I'd like to just tell you a little bit about the construction of this garden and tell you some about the plants. We could have made just a flat planting in the ground and spelled out 25 in plants, but you really couldn't have enjoyed it unless you were just standing up over the garden looking down on it. Well, what we decided to do was create a tilted planting surface that we could spell out something and you could read it even if you were standing back quite a ways. And we did this by constructing this large mound. It sort of looks like a large pyramid or something like that, but it provides us with a really nice canvas to spell out our letters that everyone can read. This mound is made up of about 16 tons of soil, and before we brought the soil in, we came out with our tape measure and our string and stakes and marked off all the corners. We marked the outer 4 corners, and then for the inner 4 corners, we sunk some wooden posts, and then we brought in some of the soil, kind of spread that out and shaped it a little, and then we sort of framed the whole pyramid with treated 1x4s. And this gave us a mark to go by when we added the soil, that we could bury the boards and have a nice framed pyramid. Well, the bulk of the soil is sandy loam soil, and after we had shaped and raked that, we came in and added about 4 to 6 inches of organic matter to give the plants a little bit of a nutrient holding base and also to retain some of the moisture. Well, these letters are made out of silver Santolina, and we trim this about once a week with these rechargeable cordless clippers here. The background is made up of red Joseph's coat, and we only trim this about every 2 or 3 weeks, and we actually just use our weed eater to trim this. There's a large 25 on the front of the pyramid and also on the back side of it as well. The sides are made up of gold, silver, and bronze foliage plants, and we keep these trimmed to maintain this geometrical design of triangles. The pathway of the garden is edged and treated 1x4s, and we came in and leveled the area. We put down a sheet of landscape fabric. Then we added about 2 or 3 inches of these pecan shell holes. And it really makes a nice pathway. It has just the right amount of crunch as you walk across it. And you could try doing a pathway like this at home, but be prepared to add new pecan shells every year or maybe every other year. Well, our silver curry plant has filled in nicely, and it's developed into a very thick hedge. And we trim this also about once every 2 or 3 weeks, and we just use these regular garden shears. And we try to trim this hedge to where it's a little bit wider on the bottom than it is on the top, and that'll ensure that it'll be a full hedge all the way to the ground. We also keep these plants that are on the inside trimmed off of it so they don't block any of the light. The cardoon we put in these wooden planter boxes for 2 reasons. The first reason is we wanted to elevate the plants, sort of get them up above the other plants so they could be appreciated more. You really are able to see the form and the lines of the plant when it's higher than the rest of the planting. The second reason is cardoon needs a very well-drained soil, and the wooden planter boxes let the roots dry out quickly, because if it's not planted in a well-drained soil, you could get some root rot or some stem rot, and the planter boxes take care of that problem for us. Well, back here in the corners of the garden, we have a bedding plant that we first talked about on our program 2 years ago, and that's this blue Pacific Angelonia. Commonly used names for this plant are angel flower and summer snapdragon. But the cultivar Blue Pacific has lots of these little bicolored purple and white flowers all through the season. It makes a nice show even in the hot weather. Well, if we haven't inspired you to go out and build a large soil pyramid in your front yard, maybe you can do something similar on a little bit smaller scale.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.